This is Omar Ahmed for IFL proudly sponsored by Everlast. With me is trainer and manager Dave Coldwell. A busy night for you.
Yeah, it is.
Obviously, we had a press conference for Chisora Parker. Come fight night, it's going to be very busy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is what you're in it for, isn't it? I've had two or three fighters on the same bills before, but nothing of this sort of magnitude. I remember when Tony boxed for a world title, I had David Price early on, but it was well early in a steady sort of fight. But these are two really really big fights, two fights where you look at it and you think 50-50 fights could go either way. People probably see Lerrone as an underdog. Real fights and big fights. So yeah, it's a good night. It's a big night.
Yeah, you mentioned the word underdog. I was actually going to ask you: are both your fighters going to this slight underdogs?
Possibly. I mean, people's opinions, isn't it? It's people's opinions. They see things one way. If you look at obviously Dereck lost the last fight, so you would have to say, yeah, well, Parker's a favourite going into it. Lerrone's not boxed at this sort of level before, so you'd have to say, yeah, he's the underdog as well. So, but it makes no difference once the bell goes. If the fighters are good enough and if they perform on the night, then underdog or favourite don't really mean anything.
Let's talk about Dereck first. People were surprised when the link up happened again. How did that just happen? Because I think you posted a picture on social media and people hadn't realised you teamed up again.
Yeah. Well, the only reason why I stopped coaching in the first place because he wanted me to coach him in London, and I can't do that because I've got my fighters up in my gym and I've got my family up here, so I can't just shoot off to London and that's it. And Dereck was good. He said, listen, I'll pay for all the fighters to come down and have a training camps down there, but it's uprooting everything. And like I said, I'm not going to spend time away. The reason why I don't train loads of fighters is because I want to make sure I've got time to spend at home with my family and doing the stuff that I do. So that's the reason why we stopped working anyway. Still kept in touch throughout and whatever, and there was no fallout or anything. It was just circumstances and logistics really. And then we had a chat after his last fight, I think it was, and it just came a conversation. Well, listen, I'm not going to go to London. You want to do it? Realistically, for the big nights, big fights, things like that, you've got to go in there and win this fight. If you want to come, if you want me to coach you, take yourself out your surroundings, get up here, let's do it properly, and let's go. And he was like, yeah, all right, okay. And that was it. And literally 2 days later, it was up in my gym.
Of course, with Dereck's career, it's always been nearly, and that hasn't really changed in recent times with the Usyk one, with the Parker one. Why is this going to be different, Dave?
Do you know what? He has got a lot more left than what you think. Dereck's one of those fighters that he takes real fights. He's in real fights, and when you talk about he's never been he's never been that kind of fighter where he's got the glitz and the glamour and the style where he doesn't take punishment. Everything's one-sided, or he's always in them hard grueling sort of fights. And in fights like that at that sort of level, if you keep taking those fights, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. That's real boxing. You look at UFC, the real fights. That's why there's a lot of the top fighters have all got lost on the records, because the real fights. You can all have nice looking records if you don't test yourself in those. And hey mate, you're right. Hello mate, right. Nice one.
Something, Joe? Good?
Good. You can all have these nice records and everything like that if you don't push yourself and if you don't test yourself. Dereck's always took real fights, and even in later on in his career, when people say he's finished and this and that, he still wants the biggest fights out there because he actually loves fighting. And if you listen to him speak, and if you ask him why are you still boxing, why, it's nothing to do with money. It's like when he's talking to lads in the gym, we were talking to young kids in the gym this morning, and he was saying you've got to enjoy it while you're on this road, because we always think about getting to where we want to get to and working that hard to get to where we want to get to, but you're not enjoying where you are right now. He loves it. He's loving going to the gym, he's loving the buzz of the crowds, he's loving the fans, he's loving the fights. And that's why he's still in this. But to go with that, he's not interested in having knockover jobs and stuff like that. He likes the test and the real fights.
We'll look forward to a brilliant rematch with Mr. Joseph Parker, who's standing right there. Lerrone Richards, the first major step up for him, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. Listen, he's had real fights.
Lennox
at
Clark
his
was a good
level.
fight.
He's had real fights at his level all throughout his career. You know, he's 15 fights in, British, Commonwealth, and European champion. Some going, that is. But he's 28 years old. He's got so much talent. This kid's honestly, he's brilliant. Skill for skill, he's brilliant, and he's becoming more mature when it comes down to his understanding of boxing and his understanding of what his potential is, how to get the best out of his potential. And I'm seeing it now, and I'm really excited for this fight because it is a real fight. It is a fight where we look at it and say, whoa, listen, you have to be so switched on, you have to do this. He understands what he's got in front of him, but he's got that persona and that character where it just fills him. This is what, he's got his juices going, this is what's making him excited. And it's a genuinely great fight for him, and it's a fight that he wins. He's right at the top of that super middleweight division, clamouring for these world titles, which are probably going to come available because Canelo's not going to be keeping hold of him, staying in that division and just making defences, I don't think. So it puts him in a really, really strong position. And I genuinely believe that he wins the fight. He's got so much potential that when you watch him in the gym now, and it's on a consistent basis, he's brilliant. He really is.
Okay, well, we look forward to a big night for your guys on December 18th. Dave, you mentioned Canelo's name there. I do want to get your reaction to his win over Caleb Plant. What did you make of it?
It reminded me a lot of the Kovalev win, in the fact that you look at it and think, oh, Kovalev's winning this, so Kovalev's sticking that jab on him, and he's Canelo, what's he doing? But he's investing downstairs. Everything that Canelo threw was around here. It was hardly throwing to the head. Every time he got close, he was sticking that right hand in there. He was investing in the body, and by the time when Plant went, he went all of a sudden. There was no signs of that whatsoever. And yes, he gets caught with a good left hook, but was it like one of Canelo's monster left hooks to get that sort of reaction? No, but I think, in my opinion, I'm not saying right, but I think that the resistance of Plant had been weakened from all the work that Canelo was doing early rounds, and that's what you saw. So when he went, and that was it, and there was no coming back from that. I thought for me, he loaded up a little bit too much, but it's Canelo. Everyone's talking about his power of this. He's a clever fighter, and he did the job. He got the job done. I thought Plant put up a good fight. We always thought Plant would give him problems and make it tricky for him, especially early doors. But it's Canelo's boxing at his own pace, early doors, making Plant work, making him move, making him through, making him work, and then when it's time for him to step things up, then he went out there and did it. So a really good performance, I thought, because you could kind of like see what he wants to do. What I said before the fight was, I thought if he was going to try and take him out with one shot, I thought that was going to give Plant a very good window to steal the fight and nick the fight off him. But if he was wanting to punish him, then I thought that would be tough on Plant. And I kind of thought that he was wanting to punish him and just keep breaking him up, like slow torture sort of thing. So yeah, another good performance.
Slow torture is a good way to describe it. Undeniably, pound for pound number one.
Yeah, I think you've got to say that. Yeah, you look at what he's done. Look at his resume, the fighters he's fought, the names on his record, what he's achieved, the titles he's won, and now he's unified a division like that. It's pound for pound number one for me.
And just a last topic I want to discuss with you. As a trainer yourself, obviously Anthony Joshua is looking at potential trainers in the States. I'm not sure what his situation with Ron McCracken is. As a trainer, just looking from the outside, what is your view on Anthony speaking to various people?
So it's difficult when you're not in there. You don't see what goes on a day-to-day basis. You don't know how the training goes. You don't know how does he respond to the coaches. If a fighter doesn't respond to a coach, it doesn't work. It's no good. It's like me and Fowler. I couldn't get the best out of Fowler, so it was better that he left, because a fighter's got one career. he can't just stay there out of like loyalty or whatever, even if he doesn't think if he doesn't have complete trust in the coach, if he doesn't think that works, if he doesn't think it suits his style or what he needs to do, then he can't stay there. I'm not saying that's how AJ feels about his setup that he's got now, but if that's the way that he feels, then he has to, whoever he goes to, whether it's get rid of everybody and stay with McCracken, get rid of everybody and stay with Angel, or whoever it is, that he's, whatever, or find a brand new coach, he's got to trust them. He's got to trust them 100%. He's got to trust in what they believe in is going to work for him. Because otherwise, you're kind of like caught in this, a clash of styles or mentalities, and you're not going to get the best out of yourself. You've got one career. AJ's got one chance this week to wipe the slate clean with Usyk, and he needs to make changes. Now, is that he needs to make changes on training personnel or just in an approach to a fight? I think without a doubt he needs to change the approach to the fight and how you go in there to win the fight. But I can't comment on does he need to change his training team or his main trainer, because you look at the success that they've had together, then you think, well, do you know what I mean? Just because you're losing against an elite level fighter, maybe you got your tactics wrong, whatever. But I think mainly it's an approach. But if he feels that he needs a change of training team to get that approach right, then so be it. But it's a tricky one when you're on the outside looking. It's only opinions and you don't know the full facts and everything. And also, it's like, who's he going to go to? It's got to be somebody that he trusts 100%. You can't do this where you go, yes, I'm going to bring this guy on, but then I'm still going to keep him, because that's just, you know what I mean? I just think one thing I don't agree with is having too many voices in the corner. You know, you've kind of got to trust one man and go off of that, because if you've got loads of voices going off, especially if shit's going wrong, can get a little bit confusing.
Yeah, of course. I know you're just looking from the outside. It has popped into my head, obviously, this situation with Scott Fitzgerald, a horrible thing that we saw, the images online. I know he put a post up recently, I don't know if you saw it, did you see it? He just confirmed that he's going to try and get okay, and we'll see him back in the ring hopefully soon. But obviously he said that before, just a horrifying situation, Dave.
It is, and you know, I've said before, I just think life's getting harder for everybody. I just think that there's we've come out of COVID, which was a serious effect on everybody. I don't care whether people, you know, apart from a certain minute percentage of people, it's fucked everybody in some sort of way. Everybody, and some people have struggled more than others, and some people have struggled mentally, some people have struggled financially. It's fucked everybody. Now we've come out of COVID, and then kind of come out of COVID, and then everything just is getting more and more expensive. Everything's just getting fucking going through the roof, and so there's more and more pressures onto people. There's more and more stresses onto people. Panic onto people. More and more people can't afford to feed their families and things like that. It's on a wide scale issue where people are now suffering from mental health. There's more people that are committing suicide now. It's horrendous. Now with Scott Fitzgerald, he's got a track record of whatever his lifestyle is, whatever it is. I don't know him on that level, but whatever he's doing in his life, something triggers or something happens where he turns to whether it's drink or drugs. He turns to something for some sort of switch off or some buzz or whatever, and it's just keeps repeating because he's been to clinics before, he's been an adult before, but then he's gone back and then it's happened again. I just feel as though he needs. Forget boxing. I don't. It's not a kit for me. If he needs to think boxing to help him get healthy again, that's great. But from my point of view, I don't give a shit if he boxes again. I think this is far too big for boxing. I think it's just a case that he needs the support of the people around him. It's all right, people are saying, you know, we're there if you need it, but you're living miles away and things like that. That's great, but he needs people around him that can help him. But ultimately, he'll have had that before. He needs to want to do it himself. And I mean want to do it and to stay on it. Once he's clean, once he's healthy again, then when there comes that time when you hit a low again, because that's how life is at the moment, like I said, when that time comes, he's got to want to stay alive and well more than he wants to get that buzz or whatever, that escapism or whatever. But often what the problem is if you keep going back into that same environment, then sooner or later you're gonna slip back into them same sort of habits. It's hard because if you're gonna dig up and go relocate, get yourself out of that area where there's a temptation and stuff like that, then you're gonna feel alone. And then are you gonna fall back into your ways because you're feeling alone? It's not just simple. It's not just simple like stick somebody in a priory or whatever, and while they're in there for 4 weeks or whatever, and they come out and they're great. It's what happens after that. And that's why so many people, despite going to places like that, will fall back off because of life and because of what's happening around it. And I ain't got no answers. It's not my, I'm not no expert on it. All I know is I saw on the alcohol side of things what effects that does when people are addicted to alcohol. I saw that growing up with my parents, so I understand that side of things. Drugs and things, I'm not as switched on. I don't know how the best way of beating that is, but I do know that the person has to want it more than you, me, his friends, whatever. If ultimately if everybody around wants it more than the person who it's affecting, it's not going to work, because sooner or later they're gonna slip back. So he needs to have that inner confidence built that he can deal with life without drugs or drink or whatever it is that is go-to is. He needs to have that confidence and that mentality switch where he believes that whatever life throws at him, he can cope with it, he can come through with it without going down that pattern, because that pattern is far worse than what he's going to be dealing with.
Well, it goes without saying, wish Scott Fitzgerald all the best. Hope to see him back just healthy one day in a good place. Dave, appreciate your time. Best of luck with your fighters on December 18th, and I'm sure we'll speak soon, alright?
Nice one.